Yo, what's going on, everyone? Welcome into another episode of Capturing the Games, the Game Within the Game podcast featuring me, your host, Desmond Jones. And today we got just an awesome, fantastic guest. She got championships on deck. You already know her. She is the assistant coach for the WNBA Phoenix Mercury. Her name is Chasity Melvin. Chasity, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on this.
No problem, no problem. So, Chasity, it's such an honor to talk to you. I got a celebrity in the house today. Uh, but can you go ahead and tell the audience a little bit about yourself?
So I'm Chastity, former WNBA All-Star, played in WNBA for 12 years, played overseas for 14 years. My favorite country is Israel. Born and raised in North Carolina, 910, 30 minutes from Dreamville. Small town country girl, with big dreams. And I love the game of basketball. NC State grad, so love my Wolf Pack. And that's pretty much it.
I understand. I understand. So, since you kind of mentioned the NC State, how did you feel being inducted into the Hall of Fame for NC State?
It was something that you don't plan for. I don't think a lot of athletes say, "Oh, I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame." I mean, we have our goals as far as winning a championship, becoming the best at our sport, but I don't think you really necessarily say, "Oh, I'm going to be in the Hall of Fame." So for me, that was one of the goals that I really never kind of wrote down. So to be inducted into the Hall of Fame and actually be able to enjoy it, not be like 60, 70 years old or gone on and passed away. I was actually able to participate in it. That was a great feeling, and it was very rewarding.
Yeah, I know not many people just start with the career saying like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the Hall of Fame, but to finally have that recognition and people recognize that, I think it's just awesome. It speaks to your career and the talents that you have, but that also carried over to the WNBA. So I wanted to like also let's take it back to all the way to '99 when you first got drafted. How was it? How did that feel during that time when you got drafted to play for? I think it was the Cleveland Rockers at the time.
Yeah, it was a great experience to get drafted for the Cleveland Rockers because I had entered the ABL first and the ABL league folded. So for me to get an opportunity to play in both leagues, it was super rewarding. And I didn't even watch the draft. I was so nervous. My family watched the draft, and I just waited. I was outside actually. I think I actually went to play pickup basketball that day, just to keep my mind off of it because it was like it was rumored like, some of the athletes that chose the ABL, they weren't going to be, able to play in the WNBA that following season. So for me, I was really nervous, and basketball and playing professional had always been my dream. So I was really nervous and anxious, and to get that call from my agent and hear that I had got drafted by Cleveland, it was just like like a weight off my shoulders, and then it was like, okay, it's on and popping, DJ Rock, and I'm back in the pros. I'm playing in the States, and I was excited.
That's awesome. Like it's always good to like hear about people accomplishing their dreams, and I would have been just like you, like yo, I don't want to hear nothing. I'm gonna go do something completely different while I wait to stuff to unfold. So it's just the fact that you're out there doing what you love. Of course, it's playing the pickup. Do you remember who he's playing pickup with at the time, or you
No,
just
I was always playing pickup at home in Clinton, North Carolina. So there was a gym, we called it the Block, and so I was always playing with the guys, always. So that's like my familiar place. That was like my kind of happy place, and that's where I have really learned to become the player I am today. So
all right, so walk me through this. So you walk in the gym, are people saying, "Oh no, she here, she about to"? I'm like, "Yo, I ain't guarding her. I don't want no problems." What was the what was those times like when you used to walk in the gym and just play pickup with the guys and the fellows and just
no,
anybody?
when I mean in my hometown, all the guys taught me how to play. From my cousins to my first cousins, my brothers and his friends, they used to beat me up. It was a struggle, always getting on the court with the guys because growing up as a Southern girl, it's like girls don't play basketball. So I had to fight a lot of stereotypes. But my grandmother was my rock, and she was the first woman, female, to make the guys let me play with them. It was kind of like, okay, if Chats don't play, you guys don't eat. So guys gonna do whatever they gotta do to get food. So like they gonna eat. They're not gonna go hungry over their pride. So at the end of the day, it was all good. So when I went to the Block, I mean, those guys, like country boys are a little bit different. I think than city guys. Like they when they're taught to respect women, most of them that I grew up with, they had a high level of respect for me. But they also were like, if you come on this court, we're gonna play. We're not gonna treat you like you're a girl. We're gonna, you got to be able to play. So at the end of the day, I'm very thankful for all those times.
Yeah, always thankful for the people that poured into your life. It's funny that grandma had to come up there and be like, "Yo, y'all gonna let my baby play." I already know the words that she was saying.
Yeah. So she was like the matriarch of our family too. So she was just like, when I cook, do I cook for everybody? And they were like, yes. And then she was like, okay, well, if Chaz can't play, then everybody's not gonna eat. So she's like, she don't cook just for the boys or just for the girls. She cooks for everyone. So my grandmother they were funny. They were wise and short with their words, but it went a long way back in the day.
Oh yeah, that's definitely how most of those elderly people were. They don't say too many words. They just sit back in the cut, watch everything unfold, and just be like, I see what happened here. And then
Yeah.
get up to go do what, or go say whatever, say three words. You may be confused at the moment, but 10 years later, you be like, I finally understand what they're talking about.
Right. Yeah.
What was your favorite meal that grandma used to cook?
So my grandmother made the best coleslaw, and it's funny. I used to watch her clean the fish back in the day. My uncles would go fishing and bring fish back, so we had the fish fry, and then she would make the coleslaw. But it was just really fine the way she made it. Like I don't like it. Like she would use I don't know how she made it, but it was just enough mayonnaise, enough sugar. It was like perfect. So I never had any sense, and I regret not learning how she, watching her and learning how to make it because it was like the best. So that was my thing. But
Yeah.
anything she cooked, basically, I like. Her biscuits were great. She was a great cook. So
I had a auntie. Her name was she was from down Louisiana, so her name was Anime. And we can go, it no matter what time we show up at Anime House, but she always had a pound cake, always had some type of dessert, was ready to cook a full-fledged meal at any given time, any given day. It didn't matter what time we show up. So it was always the first stop and always the last stop we did when we was leaving from Louisiana at the time. So I definitely understand, I always also wish that I was able to kind of write down some of those recipes that she did, because like, I can still taste some of her cooking today. And it's been like 20, 30 years since she's, been gone. So
no, I get it. Like people are funny. Like I've traveled all over the world, and it's just like I've eaten at a lot of great places, but it's like nothing's like my grandmother's food. Both my grandmothers could cook, and it was just like just crazy. Like my nieces and nephews and just the younger generation, they'll kind of like never understand that. But like those are like, if I could just get one more day to have a meal, that would be great.
absolutely, absolutely. So what made you get into coaching?
I didn't. Well, I didn't want to coach at first. That wasn't my goal. My end goal was to become a color analyst, work in the studio for basketball purposes. I love the game, and that's what I went to college for. I majored in mass communication. So once I retired, that's what I had planned to do. I wanted to be the next Robin Roberts. I love Cheryl Miller on TNT. So those are my idols, like growing up. And unfortunately, I played year round, so I didn't get a lot of experience. So once I retired, I kind of like had a challenging time just trying to get into that. And I actually started working for a 9 to 5, which was my old coach's college coach, Kay Yao. She passed away of breast cancer. She had started a nonprofit. So I ended up working there for 2 years. And then I was able to get into the NBA assistant coaches program. And that kind of fueled or kind of gave me an edge and desire to coach. Before that, I really wasn't thinking about it.
So on top of that, so you went from so you had this one dream that you wanted, and then so coaching wasn't really something that you was like, it's okay. Like, so what made you like develop the love? Because like I'm like, from what I've seen, it's like you've been everywhere, like coaching, and really like, I mean, I would say you're coaching for the Phoenix Mercury right now. So how did you, like, what was that journey like to start off at the G League level to where you at now?
I actually started off with high school basketball, but it just didn't pay the bills. I
Wow.
had assets, I had things as a pro player, and for me, I enjoyed coaching high school. The parents were a little tricky, but it was rewarding. Watching the kids get better. So, but it just didn't fuel my competitive drive. Like I just felt like I could, nothing against high school coaches, but I had played on the highest level, so it was kind of like, it's a lot slower and things were just, methodical kind of. So for me, but it was great, just watching the kids get better. So I did like that part of coaching, but still it wasn't like, oh, I want to coach. I was still trying to do, get in on ESPN. I did some color for NC State games, so I really enjoyed that. And so that was a grind. There was still kind of no money there, so I was just kind of like grinding it out. So I know a lot of people don't know that story, but a lot of professional athletes, once they retire, regardless of the money, you got to start a new grind because they look at you like you got to get experience, you haven't worked, and all this kind of stuff. So, and I get it. At the end of the day, I was on my grind, and then I got the job with the 9 to 5, and I was just like, oh, this is something different. This is something I've never done before, so that was uncomfortable. And but everything throughout the journey, helped me to where I am today. And it just helps me see life in a different way. So even when I coach athletes or coach young athletes, coached in college, it's just giving me a whole perspective about every level of an athlete. So for me, it just brought back all the memories and everything that I kind of knew playing for 20 plus years. So the G League really fueled a competitive drive because the game was so fast. That was close. Like I got to see the NBA games. I got to go to Charlotte Hornets training camp. So I got to see the whole big picture. But the NBA game, the men was just it was so fast from one end to the next. So that fueled my competitive drive, trying to keep up with like, oh, what play did they just run? Or, getting the defense, the matchups. It was just so much quicker. And so that fueled my competitive drive because I wasn't used to it. I had to get better. And it was something that fueled that competitive drive. And then I knew I just wanted to be back in the pros. And so for the WNBA, I had tried to get back in, and that was difficult because there's only so many teams. Coaching staffs have their staff, that kind of stuff. So it was just the grind. It was just hard. So to be back, to finally get the opportunity when Sandy gave me the call, and interviewed me about coming to Phoenix, it was just like it just all worked out, and so it's been very good. But I enjoy coaching the men. I love coaching the G League. And actually, I've loved every experience. So for me, it's just part of the journey, and I just want to be the best. And I have goals of staying around the pro game. So we'll see what happens.
I hear that. I definitely wish the best for you, first and foremost. Anybody that comes on to the podcast, I treat them like family afterwards. So
Thanks,
definitely,
Dave.
yeah, definitely be, rooting for you even more. So now that, that we having this interaction and just having this opportunity to kind of talk with and meet with you. Um, yeah, I get it. I always wanted to like just strive having that competitive advantage, striving to be the best. Um, so I have a question. So what was it been like, or how's it been like coaching some of these athletes like on, in Phoenix, like DT, for example, like DT's been in the league. Like I'm not sure if you actually played against her, but what
Yeah, I
was like,
played against her. I played
yeah.
against her. Yeah, and
So
now the
so
coach her. Yeah,
yeah, so
crazy.
like yeah, so I like how is like that interaction or just interacting with DT and all because like DT is like one of those people that's super competitive, and like she shows it on and off the court. Like I remember watching me and my wife we went to one of her games and we were just laughing at some of the stuff that she was saying, but it was just like on the court, I'm not gonna say it on here, but it's just her competitive advantage or her competitive edge. I just love her spirit. But yeah, what's it been like just coaching just some of being around some of these around some of the athletes in the W right now?
Oh, it's been great. Like I said, I've enjoyed my journey. For playing against DT and trying to beat her. Trying to watching her on the court. I felt like I was just as competitive, but to see her practice every day, I'm like, oh, okay, I probably wasn't as competitive as DT. You know what I'm saying? Just a different type of competitive fire she has. And obviously, you with the great, I mean, I thought I was great at what I did, but at the same time, I really, enjoyed the game a lot more. I would say, DT's like Kobe, I was like Shaq when I played. That's just how it was. I had a focus, but I enjoy the game. I have fun. I work hard, but I have fun. I really enjoy the game. And that's how I play all my life though. So like that's kind of how I look at DT. Like she's Kobe and I would have been Shaq. Like if we played together. Um, but yeah, coaching her is great. I learned from her. She has a definitely has a high IQ. And obviously, I work with the bigs a lot, so I don't really get that much one-on-one
Okay.
time and working with DT because I work with the bigs and the post players. But just on average, talking about sets and timeouts or what do you think? Like DT has a great IQ, so that's fun. And for me, it makes me more competitive. Like that's kind of like my competitive edge with her. Like if I say something, DT be like, "Oh yeah, you're right. No, that's a good point." I'll be like, "Oh okay, all right, I got this." You know what I'm saying? Like
Like I
I
ain't
don't
too
even
bad
really
after
care what
all.
no. Yeah, like I don't care what nobody else say. DT was like, "Yeah, I get that's a good point." I'll be like, "Okay, I'm good for the day." I call my friends, be like, "Yeah," DT was like, "Yo, that's a good point, Jazz." But that's just because of the respect I have for her. Obviously, she won championships. I haven't got my championship in the WNBA, so I have plenty overseas, but not in the WNBA. So hopefully, I get to be a part of that with the Phoenix Mercury here. That would be great. That would be like icing on the cake. So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely rooting for you. I'm not by the time that this podcast releases, season will definitely be ended. So I'm gonna have to do a follow up, bring it back. Hopefully to say, yo, we got, the W 2021 WNBA championship assistant coach from the Phoenix Mercury, Chastity Melvin. I like the
that
sounds
would
of that.
that would be great. I'm on BG and DT all the time. Like I don't have one, guys. Like I really want one. So I
Yeah.
can't get out there. So, but at the end of the day, we're playing really well right now. I like the way we're gelling at just the right time. So, um, we're as good as anybody going into the playoffs, and
Hmm.
healthy as long as we stay healthy. So we'll see.
Absolutely. Um, what how important is the W, like not only just to you but just to just a woman in general, how important is the W?
I think it's great because for me, I always had a dream to play basketball.
I always had a dream to play basketball and really excel and play the game I love. So I think it's important for all young girls out there who want to take their game to the next level, who want to graduate from college and play and keep playing in the state. There are a lot of leagues for women, but WNBA is the highest league, and so I think is equally important for young girls and for young women to have role models. So.
Oh yeah, no, I was just saying like I think it's without the vision, people it's hard for people to see, it's harder for that for people to really make it to the next level. And so just the fact that we have these professional athletes that's playing in the W, and now that even now there's more attention being brought to the W right now, the more than it's ever been in its entire existence. You've seen franchise started, folded, and collapse and move and relocate. But now we're starting to get more, and there's more attention being brought to the W. I think females in general in the W has brought more attention just to the social issues that's going on across the state. So I think that's just all the more of the reasons why like the W is so important. And I'm just glad that it's here to stay. It's been 25 years in the making. So I just I think highly of the W right now.
No, for sure. It's a great platform, and like you said, it's all about the vision. I do wanted to get more back focus on the basketball aspect of it. I think social justice is kind of taken over, and a lot of other different social issues. And I think that's great. But at the end of the day, we're still building our league, and we do have the best talent. And I would like for more teams to, be a part of the WNBA. And I wanted to become like the NBA, and I wanted to be like just the best place for women to play basketball at the highest level. So I don't want to just get lost in that. I want it to
Oh
be
yeah.
talent and what we do.
Oh, absolutely. Like I'm so geared and ready for the next set of expansion teams to be added to the W. And I'm hoping, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully soon that they come up with an announcement saying like, yo, we're gonna add either 2 or 3 different teams, and here's the cities. So I'd love to see the ability just to add more to add more talent to the league, add more teams to help it grow. And again, I wanted to get to the NBA level. I want to see, eventually more games being played in the W versus like the condensed season that it is compared to like the NBA.
No, for sure.
What's your advice for for young women that is either trying to make it on a collegiate level or just even professionally right now, what's some advice that you can kind of give or offer them right now?
For me, I think it was just, be a student of the game, be a student of, and not just, women that just want to be professional athletes, but whatever it is, your career, whatever career you want to enter. I think young people today, they use social media for a lot of things, but sometimes they don't use it for the right things. I think you can find so much information about what career you want to enter. You can find mentors, online that, give you the tricks of the trade, the do's and the don'ts. And I think you should start your strategy at a very young age. For me, I used to watch all the NBA games. I used to read all the players' stories. If there were books, I read it. I read all the background. So I think I would just tell young women, like, study the game, study players that came before you, learn how to work, how to train, how to develop your skill sets. Even in college, when you're entering college, you got to learn about your game, what style really fits you. I think some young athletes choose colleges that don't really fit their style of play. And if you want to be a pro, you want to go to a coach that, if you like to run and get up and down the floor, then that's part of the system you want to go to. If a shooter, you want to go play for a coach who gets their shooters a lot of opportunities in their offensive set. So that kind of thing, like, you really got to start playing in at a young age, like what type of system you want to be a part of to develop your game and to be highlighted and have the opportunities you want. And that's like with any career, like, you want to be in communications or you want to be an analyst. Like for me, I went to NC State, more so just because of the coach. I mean, they did have a communications program, but looking back, like, I wanted to work for TNT. I should have went to Georgia Tech, at the end of the day, So if you're thinking about that, for me, it worked out because, there was a pro league and I was, I had an opportunity to play pro, but, the best school, to kind of network and be in that kind of arena, there's different colleges for different degrees. And so that's my advice to young women trying to, get into their careers early and, to have dreams and aspirations of being, a businesswoman or a professional athlete. Like, get your strategy started now, start following the people that you want to be like on social media. And, they're giving out a lot of gems, a lot of keys on social media. And I'm not sure the young generation is really taking advantage of that.
That's some pretty sound advice that I'm gonna even take for myself. So I'm an engineer by trade. So it's just
Okay.
so I follow like a group of friends that are engineers and just some of the mentors and stuff. So we all kind of feed off each other. So
yeah, like I have a separate page just for like coaches, trainers, so everyone kind of in the game, Then I kind of like got my fun page, like my page people I follow for like, so it's like you could create so much, through social media. And so you have, like, I have my mentoring page, and then some days I catch stuff that's like something I've been studying or trying to figure out, and it's right there. So that would be my advice. Like, it's right at you guys' hands. Like, I had to have
it
encyclopedias.
is.
Yeah, I had to have encyclopedias and really read a whole bunch of books. Now it's like right here. You want to learn something about Kobe, it's right here. So at the end of the day, that would be my advice. And then develop your own strategy. I do believe like you should be different, but there's always a foundation. Like basketball, there's always foundation and the same principles that will never change. But creatively, as a coach, I can put my spin to it. As a player, like, obviously I stole things from Karl Malone, I stole things from Akeem Olajuwon, Tim Duncan. I watched them, I studied them, but then I put my spin to it, like what I could do within my talent level and just kind of add it to it. And I think that's what young people don't understand. They want to try to reinvent the whole wheel. And it's like, no, there are foundations and stuff that's not going to change. But you learn the basics, the foundations, and then you put your spin to it. Because, God's blessed us all with a certain talent. And then that's how you just become successful.
Amen. 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 You're right. You're right. Speaking of which, one of the things I did want to make sure I ask, because it's not too often I get a chance to really talk about it. But how has your faith, played a part of your career?
Oh yeah, my faith has been really, really undeniably. That is why I am where I am, and that's my personal story. And I think sometimes I get a lot of I won't say negative feedback, but it's like people don't want to really hear that side. Like I wrote a book talking about how my faith helped me coming from a small town. Um, to kind of like basically the Bible is the blueprint for everything. I tell everyone that whether you believe in God or not, there's a lot of great stories, moral, um, I don't know, just analogies, things you can get from it. It's like, wow, that pertains to life. But at the end of the day, too, like my faith is everything that keeps me going. I think that's when I retired, and all athletes have those vices or go through that retirement phase where it can just kind of get crazy. My faith kept me balanced. It kept me, on the same path. Like I ain't get too low, I ain't get too high. So that's why I believe my faith is important. I think the younger generation also like they don't really have a certain sense of faith. It's like church, God, they don't really rock with that, too much these days. But at the same time, they're like mentally off balance. So like I think that would help a lot. But we to talk about that, it'll go like it'll be on deaf ears. People are like, nah, it's just mental health, this, and that. But I think that's what kept me mentally stable through all my ups and downs was my faith. And obviously, once I retired, I did get a life coach, and I do believe in all the therapy and like if you have certain like mental, diseases, then you need a therapist or certain things to help you, deal with depression and different things. And thank God I didn't really have to deal with any of that kind of stuff. But my faith was really helpful as far as mentally staying balanced for the most part. So yeah, I believe in God. I tell everyone it doesn't have to be God or Jesus. God has so many different names, but I think a great sense of faith, there's so many different types of faiths out there, is something to keep you balanced, whether you're a pro athlete or just, on the grind. Because life, really does get heavy at times for everybody. No one escapes life.
That's so true. It's not even funny. But one word of encouragement is, don't just keep saying it. I promise you, it's not falling on deaf ears. Somebody's listening, you know, they may not be listening all the way, but somebody's listening. But don't let it fall on deaf ears. Don't let it think that you letting it fall on deaf ears, because just the more you keep saying it, someone's gonna listen, someone's gonna get hold of it, and someone's gonna, take it in.
Thank you.
Of course. I always gotta be an encouragement, because I feel it, because I'm sometimes I go through stuff. I'm like, man, ain't nobody paying attention to what I'm saying. So, but just keep putting it out there. You never know what can happen. So just keep planting them seeds out there. What's your advice for women just trying to make it in coaching? So I know that you went your initial, struggles initially beginning. So what's some of the stuff that you can offer and give back to those that are trying to make it in coaching?
My first bit of advice was don't get discouraged. Don't think that you don't have the skills and talents to coach. I think that was for me. I learned from being a pro, like you got to keep your confidence. So no matter how many no's, like because I really tried to get in college, high school, even people were like, nah, you're a pro. You don't know how to deal with these kids and the parents. Like I got so many no's. So at the end of the day, as an athlete, I just had that confidence and that swag. Like I don't care what people tell me. Like people told me I couldn't be a pro, so I kind of had that confidence. But my confidence was challenged going through those times. Like you keep getting so many no's, you start thinking like, okay, well maybe I was just a good player. Like maybe I can't coach. So I won't say that it never crossed my mind, but I hurry up and erase those negative thoughts. So just know, I would just encourage women, like you can coach. It doesn't matter if it's men or women. Like that's what I learned coaching the guys. Like basketball is basketball. They're just different levels of talent and skill sets. That's all it is. But the game, the foundation, and the principles, that doesn't change. So if you want to coach, you definitely can. It's just, reality, there just aren't a lot of opportunities. Obviously it sucks. It's unfortunate that women don't have the opportunity like men to coach both men and women. And I got some backlash from just guys that I'm good friends with. My dad had to talk to me like, why do you want to coach men? You can't be a leader of men. My dad's the old school, and I get it. Like I see how important for my brothers, they had my father and my dad was there every day. He was the leader in our family, so I get that aspect of it. And I told my dad, like, I'm not trying to lead men. I know I can't as a woman. Like I can just like a, but why is it like women can lead men can lead women? Like they don't know how to tell me how to be a woman, like in the day, but they can coach me. And most of the men coaches I've had, they haven't taught me that. They taught me how to be a great basketball player. And so in my mindset, I'm like, I'm just trying to coach him on how to be the best basketball player. I'm not trying to coach him on how to be a great man. And at the end of the day, I'll be just like male coaches have 3 women assistants. If I coach a male team, I would probably have 3 male assistants because they, guys need male mentors and that kind of thing. So at the end of the day, once I said that to my dad, he was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm like, I'm just trying to coach them within the 4 lines on the court. That's it, Dad. Like, I know basketball. I'm trying to coach them on that. I'm not trying to teach them how to be a man, but I do think that's very important. And my thing was, it's not, there are a lot of women that want to coach, and we are only in a box. It's like we can only coach women, and so we're fighting for a lot of the same jobs. So at the end of the day, I would say also my second point would be like, don't get caught up in the fighting, and like, there is enough room, and sometimes you just gotta coach at a different level until you get to where you want to be. So that's why I say I've enjoyed all my experiences. Like I didn't look down when I coached high school. A lot of people when I coached in college, they were like, "Why aren't you at a Power 5, Top 5 team?" I'm like, I didn't look down at any of my experiences. I just was like, "This is my opportunity. I got my foot in the door. Let me learn as much as I can learn, and then keep moving up." And so that my third and final advice would just be like, it's a grind, and you just take every opportunity and maximize it and learn from it, and finally you get to the place where you're celebrated and not tolerated, and be where you want to be.
Man, you said so much, and I can comment and talk about a lot of different things. But the one thing I want to talk about that you even mentioned was just the fact that people will say that women can't do a specific job. And I see it all the time because at my church, the lead pastor is a woman. She's the bishop of the church, and so many people, even to this day, says like, or even ask me, how can you, or be under a woman leader? And I'm like, it's easy. Like we just talk about the word, bro. Like have you not seen or listened? Anyway, like I said, I could talk about that all the time. But but so many people try to, you know, like as you described, put women in the box. And that should never be the case.
I
Grant.
just think it's a thin line, Desmond. I think I do have a sense because my father was in my life, and I battle with this with a lot of women who are like part of the feminist group, and I do value men in leadership, and I understand the importance of it. I do also value the leadership and value of women in important roles, and I think there has to be a balance. I think everything has to have diversity. I think when you have, my
Mhm.
dad was a minister. And so I grew up where like women didn't preach and it was like taboo and all of that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, I just think there's always time for revolution and change. And I just think it just has to be more diverse. Like only men leading in the church, I think gave you a lopsided view of what God and faith is really all about. And so I
Yeah.
think when you have a more diverse staff in any organization, and church is an organization, people are so hard on the church, but it's an organization.
Always.
I just think when you have a level of diversity across the board in any organization, then you're opening it up for just such great revolution and just a powerful. It just can be a powerful organization when you have a lot of diversity.
Hey man, you're absolutely right about that. That's for sure. Absolutely right about that. Um, Real quick, I do want to kind of talk about it, ask about it before we go into our rapid fire. Is how was your international experience? And, I know you won multiple championships over there. What was like that time like playing overseas, and how did you end up with Israel being your favorite country of all the places that you've been to?
Yeah, that's funny. I don't know if you can see my Hamsa necklace, but that's what I picked up in Israel. And
Okay.
all the pros wear the Hamsas now. So back in 99, 2000, I was on the Hamsas and all my black friends were making fun of me. Now it's just like the symbol, like every athlete has one. But I played in Israel the longest. So I played there 5 years and I just love the culture. I love the country. You can travel the country in less than 7 hours, go from the mountains to the coast. It's just, for me, I think it's just, it was small town and I was small town. Like Israel's a very small country. And then I played in ACC and that's kind of like Israel. Like the rivalries are like 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes from each other. So you're just, all the games are like really close. So that's why I think I vibe with Israel more. And obviously just the diversity over there. I know a lot of people, what you think of Israel is totally opposite. So if you ever go there. But I enjoyed, like I said, I maximized every year, every country I was in. Uh, I love playing overseas. Being a small town country girl, like my dream was like to go to New York City. I tell people that all the time. Like that was what I wanted to do growing. Like you made it if you go to New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then I'm like in Italy, Spain, Russia, Israel, Korea. Like I'm all over the world. It was like nobody can take that from me. Like if I never be as rich as I want to be, like no one could take like those 14 years traveling the world and living in other countries. They can't take that from me. So at the end of the day, playing abroad was everything for me. So
That's amazing. I always love hearing about the international experience, about people being able to go to different countries and just see it,
crazy. Yeah. It's
and to
crazy.
see
Like
and to experience it.
I was living there 7 months, and it's just, it's really, I can't really put it in words, but it really changed my life. And it was really great experience for me. Really great.
That's awesome. 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 Um, I do have like kind of like two more questions I want to ask before I get into rapid fire.
Okay.
I know I keep adding stuff, but one thing I did want to mention or ask is, what made you write your book?
Uh, Writing my book was my release. It was my therapy going through retirement. It was, like I said earlier, every athlete has it. You're at the top of you're sitting on top of the castle, top of the world, and then it's like, bam. It's like, so, it can hit you, it'll hit every athlete in a different way. And so for me, journaling, I started journaling. And like I said, I was getting no's. I couldn't get into my next career. And my brother kind of encouraged me. He was like, Chaz, you should write a book. Because I was just telling him about a story, something that happened when I was playing in Russia. And he was like, you should write a book. And I was like, yeah, I got time. So I was like, I can't write a book. I'm not really a writer. I'm a talker. So um, I love devotionals because of my faith. I had tons of devotionals. So I said, oh, I'm gonna write this on a devotional platform. So it's like 40 devotionals, like short, to the point. I just tell a certain story, something I went through, and then I ended with a quote and like a life, like kind of like a life coach and life success type paragraph, and then I ended with a prayer. So they're like 40 devotionals called At the End of the Day. So every quote ends like, at the end of the day, it's not what you say, it's what you do, stuff like that, just to kind of hit you like something really quick to pick up and be like, oh, okay. And so that's what devotionals kind of are, to kind of like encourage you to go through the rest of your day. So that's kind of like how I wrote it. It's basic. It's not something deep. But I did it. I mean, I wrote the book myself. I just got it edited. I did everything online. I did the cover. I published it myself. So for me, I thought that was really big, something challenging to do. Like, okay, you can do this, So at some point, I still kind of talk about it, but it's so like, now it's like, oh, if I get, pay somebody to kind of redo it and, make it a little bit, what I'm saying. I might do that at some point, but most of the reviews, people get it, they like it, at the end of the day. I haven't had any other than, I talk about God and my faith, and they're just like, I'm not sure how you correlate God with everything, but they don't say anything bad. Like, it's just like, I still don't get the God part, But other than that, I haven't had too many bad reviews on it. So
That's good. That's good. For all our listeners, subscribers out there, go ahead and make sure you go purchase Chastity's book. So yeah. Uh uh before last question. So what made you start your podcast?
podcast was just something to keep me intertwined with my first love, and that was becoming an analyst, a sports commentator, or working in the studio. That's why I started the podcast. And then I wanted, once I retired, and after I wrote my book, I really wanted to share my faith. So I started two different. I had been doing the sports podcast for years, since 2014. 2013, and then just this past year when COVID hit, people were really struggling, so I wanted to start a podcast on like kind of faith-based. But it's so hard, with the coaching grind. As you know, Desmond, you got to be consistent with your podcast, and I was kind of doing everything myself, as you probably know, producing it, trying to get the guest on. It's just like 18-hour days. And I love it because that was my major communication. So graphics, everything I did. So this time I'm trying to narrow it down, see what I want to do, and hopefully find a co-host or find someone that's kind of looking that I can work with, that's kind of doing all the, producing, and I can just get on and be the talking head. That's more, that way I can be more consistent and people won't think like, oh, this is an athlete not finishing it. It was just like coaching and doing everything I do. It's a lot. It's just really a lot. So.
I can only understand or only imagine as well. Trust me. Like,
yeah, so if there are any producers or anybody out there that want to produce this podcast, get at me. I'm great. I have great ideas. And then that way I could be consistent more. Because, like getting guests and then like, are they going to really show up? They going to come through? All this kind of stuff. It can get crazy. But I love it. I enjoyed it. And so that's why I started it. Because that is like kind of like my first love. So
that's awesome. Well, that wraps up the first part of our interview. So we're going to go ahead and transition to our rapid fire segment. So it was what we call the game within the game part, where we just ask a rapid fire question. So my question to you is, are you ready to play?
Oh, I'm always ready. All right,
that's what they all say. No,
let's see.
All right. Chocolate chip cookies or oatmeal raisin?
Chocolate chip.
Okay. I'm not mad at that choice. I prefer oatmeal, but I do definitely grab like chocolate chip cookies all the time. So, TV shows or movies?
TV shows.
Any particular TV show you're watching right now?
I'm not currently watching one right now, just because I'm in season, so I don't really have time. I have to all season though. I'll be on it.
I got you. So I'm gonna catch you on the all season.
What you watching. I'll watch it.
Okay. Right now, who's your top 5 in the WNBA?
Top 5. I'm just gonna have to go with my girls. BG, Diana Taurasi, Skylar Diggins Smith, and then I'm gonna hit up my babies that I played with early in my career. Sylvia Fowles, put another post player on there, and then I'm gonna go with another post player because I just love the post players, but I like Asia Wilson too. So
okay,
I had to put 3 posts in my top 5. I'm a big type of girl. What can I say?
Nah, I get it. Who's your top 5 in the NBA?
My top 5 in the NBA. First, obviously, I'm gonna just go with LeBron James. I love him. That's my favorite player right now. Then to be able to play at the level he's playing at, that's great right now. Kevin Durant. Third, I guess I'll go with Luka. Third right now. Just love his game. Also, I was telling people that they should have drafted him early, and everybody was hating on me about that. But so I'm glad he proved me right. So I gotta have him in the top 5 right now. 4 and 5. Let's see. There's so many good players. I'm still old school though. I'm so old school.
You can get a top 5 all time. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's your top 5.
Oh, the top 5 all time. Yeah, let me do all time because I'm still old school. I watch all the young players, but it's like I'm still old school. Top 5 all time. I'm gonna go with LeBron, Kobe, Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan, and Magic Johnson.
That's a good top 5. That's a real good.
Everybody leaves Tim Duncan off, but they really don't know how great Tim Duncan was.
Tim, Mr. Fundamentals, like he was like awesome, and he was consistent. One of the most consistent post players that ever really played the game.
And probably I put Kobe on there, but I gotta take Kobe. Kobe's up there, but I guess because he passed away, I could put him in. You know what I'm saying? But really, it's like LeBron, go with the guards or wings. LeBron, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Tim Duncan, and Shaq. Those are my top five.
That's
I
a
gotta have two post players in there. Sorry.
no. It's your top five. Your world. Your world. No, that's a good top five though. So I think here's a tough question for you. So if you can go pro in any other sport other than basketball, what would it be?
Oh, clearly I would be Serena right now if I could be. And you know what's funny, Desmond, is I had a coach, PE teacher at NC State, Mo Cheeks. He used to try to get me to play tennis every year. And I was like, man, black girls don't play tennis. I'm playing basketball. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
pro basketball. But I swear, every year he was like, Chaz, you'll be good because you're tall, you can serve. You know, he taught me how to play. I took tennis, like I took the class and everything. And I was like, yeah, I ain't chasing these balls. I was like, man, Mo Cheeks knew what he's talking about. You know, Serena Venus come along. I was six, you know what I'm saying? I was 6'3". I could have had that power serve. I had a great serve. It was just that other part. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
power back and forth. I was like, nah, I can't. I'm too tall for this. And now, so like, yeah, if I had to go back and do it all over again, definitely I'm going to play tennis. And I'm gonna be out there like Serena, like, you ain't gonna be able to get my serve back. I was just naturally strong. I was just like, bam, like it was just easy. It was easy, like it was for Serena. Like,
especially
I
with you
would definitely
being
play tennis. Definitely play tennis.
especially with you being tall, like people would have hated playing against you. I'm like, man, I got
Yeah, that's what he used to say. He'd be like, no, you can do it. And I could serve. Like he taught me how to do it and then I picked it up. But it was like, you know, I was small town country. Like we didn't even have tennis courts where I was from. Like what? Like who plays tennis? You know what I'm saying? My
tall.
dad was not Mr. Williams, you know what I'm saying? I needed a Mr. Williams, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, like I was just looking around. You know, although Alfred Woodard, you know, like, but you know, you don't really know your history like that. Like I knew she was a great tennis player, but it's like I'm looking at tennis, it's just like all you see is, you know, white women playing tennis. So
Right, right.
I was like, I could not envision what he saw. So definitely I come back playing tennis. That's my sport.
It's like we grew up with country roads, not tennis courts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like my first tennis court, I really got into it when I got to college. I saw like tennis and you know what I'm saying? And he was like, nah, you can serve. And I was like, yeah. And, you know, he taught me, I picked it up. I was like, nah, man, I'm playing basketball. It's hot out here.
Oh man. All right. So what's your favorite sports moment that you've either seen or witnessed?
Dang, there's so many. Favorite sports moment. I guess, I mean, there have been a few. Well, I didn't see those in person though. So I ain't see those in person. So is that still you seen them or witnessed?
Yeah, I mean, it could still count. You know, I'm not gonna hold it against you. That still counts.
I guess my favorite sports moment, because I'll be like, I was there and I witnessed it as I was there when Coach Al got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And that was the same year Magic Johnson got inducted into the Hall of Fame. So for me to be there and just like really hear their speeches and then see them afterwards and take photos, that was really special. So I would say that was my best moment, but best sports moment that I witnessed. So
That's a good choice. Good choice. Favorite pair of shoes.
I'm an Air Force One girl. I mean, no, I'm not Air Force. I mean, Air Jordan One, high tops, mid. It doesn't matter. The ones. That's what I do. I've been on that game for a long time. So,
Okay. Who has a better shoe game, you or DT?
oh, DT, she's sponsored by Nike for sure. Oh my gosh, easy. But you know, I come with some. I ain't gonna lie. I'm glad you asked that because she had some ones. She had the low cut ones on the other day, and I'm like, D. She's like, you know, I'm trying to be like you, Chaz, because all I wear is ones. And you know, but so you know, she can get whatever. So she had on a pair of the low cut ones, and I said, okay, D, you look fly in the ones. She said, you think? I said, yeah. I mean, you know. So it was all cool. It's all good. But yeah, DT, hands down. And or it might be her son Leo, because he comes in and I just feel bad about my life. Like, Leo, what you rocking today? Like, dang, you how old? So I don't know. Leo might have DT and IB.
Oh man, that's crazy. All right. If you could be a hype man for any artist, who would it be?
mm, I could be a hype man for any artist. Right now I gotta go with 910, you know, North Carolina.
Okay.
Rhapsody.
What's that? Rapping the whole town. Rapping the whole
Yeah.
town.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I
I'll have
respect
to
it.
go Rhapsody. I will be her hype woman for sure.
um, if you get a chance to take over any organization, it could be professional sports, it could be anything, it could be Nike, NCAA. Who are you choosing?
I would take any over any sports.
Yeah, you could take over any organization. It could be in any sport, anything. It doesn't matter. Who it could be Chase Bank for all we
Yeah.
know.
Dang. I think if I could take over anything right now, I would just take over. I would take over ESPN,
Okay.
and I would just make it more diverse. I would make it as diverse as it could be in sports and everything, and the analysts, everything. That's what I would do.
I like the choice. So you're not the only one that's chosen ESPN. So it's a good choice. Good choice. Well, Chastity, that concludes our rapid fire round. But one final question though, where can people follow you at on social medias to kind of follow your career and everything that you have going on?
Chastity Melvin. You know, my niece makes fun of me, but everything's Chastity Melvin. No,
Look, simple is great.
yeah, no crazy handles or anything like that.
Yeah, no, look, simple is great, especially if you can easily spell it out.
Yeah.
It's consistent. It's you. That's the most, you know.
At Chastity Melvin, ChasitiMelv, V as in Victor IN. And then my sports page is True Sport Basketball. So I have that on Facebook and IG. And then my faith podcast is God's Child, and it's GODSCHILDE. So child ends with the E. So it's God's Child. So if you want some inspiration, follow that page. And then that's it. But everything's under Chastity Melvin, so you can follow everything I do under Chastity Melvin. So
Awesome, awesome. With Chastity, it was a pleasure having you on today's podcast. Real quick, I just want to remind the audience, the listeners, that Capturing the Game podcast is sponsored by Capture Sports Agency, where our CEO and founder is Chantel Smith Jones. For those that are listening, you can go ahead and like and subscribe to our YouTube page. That's Capturing the Game Podcast. On Facebook is Capturing the Game Podcast. On Twitter, it's CTG underscore podcast. And on Instagram, it's just capturing underscore the underscore game underscore pod. But that's all our social media handles. See, I wish ours, we can fix that later. Anyways, Chastity, it was honor. It was such a pleasure to get a chance, opportunity to talk with you. We're located in Indiana, so maybe when you guys come out here on your trip, we get a chance to maybe even interact in person. So,
that's what's up. Yeah, we'll be out there next week. So
okay.
See y'all then. Tell Chantel, keep doing her thing. And I hope you guys capture the game with me today.
I like it.